our last player here. This is Tank Bigsby of Auburn. 6'2", 210, runs kind of an average 40 at about 4.56, vertical jump of 32.5, broad jump of 9 feet 11 inches. So, a good athlete, and that's why he's kind of up here. He was only 71st in yards per carry, but he averaged 4.17 yards per carry after contact. So you're looking at a guy that just under a yard and a half per carry before contact. And you think about this Auburn, right? Gus Malzahn gets fired. They go with Cadillac Williams, one of your nemesis, back when he was on the Bucs as the head coach. Auburn was a mess last year. And so I think that there's some value here in a guy. He forced 61 missed tackles. This is a guy who very much was overcoming a lot of adversity as a member of the Auburn Tigers. Does that, I think that I kind of like this guy as far as didn't get a lot of opportunity to really shine there as far as efficiency's sake, but the underlying data with him does look promising at the NFL level.
Yeah, I mean, another big guy, as you know, and that has a tendency to run upright. He's not one of those guys that you're thinking, wow, he's going to get behind his pads and just lay the boom and run over people. There were a couple things that were concerned to me. I liked him well enough. He's in my mind, meaning, and I don't mean to be negative, but remember that 6 area, the 5 to 6 area in our grading world is 5 is adequate, 6 is good. I mean, you're teetering on a lot of those areas in all of his, whatever his metrics are within the metric tree of the running back that your team is presenting. I would say that the thing that caught my attention is as he was trying to turn the corner, getting around left or right, there was a little bit of gathering himself to get around that. No, I love a guy that's going to get around there, jam his foot in the ground and just burst out, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just felt there was a little bit of gathering, right? And that was something that was a little bit of a concern to me.
Yeah, and you did not see him at the combine perform either of the cone measurements, right? And that, to me, you're seeing less of that now when you look at the data. And by the way, there was an article that I wrote for Pro Football Focus a couple years ago, back when there was no combine, saying, pro day data and combine data are different, right? So you got to take the pro day data with a grain of salt relative to the combine data. That's where a lot of these guys will do some of their agility drills. They don't do them at the combine because the combine is incredibly fair. The turf is not fast. It won't make you look the best. And a lot of these guys don't do that, right? And, we are building at Sumer some really cool, on-field measurements that'll pick up on that kind of stuff. Really cool, really great stuff by Udit Ranazari and Pavel Babashevitz that are really good looks into this stuff that I'm really excited for. And that's a good thing that you picked up on there. So he basically can't be in a scheme. Does that preclude him from being in a zone scheme where you kind of have to wait and then cut immediately when you see that? What kind of scheme does that kind of eliminate him from being an elite player in?
Well, look, I don't see him necessarily hitting the hole and then, being able to adjust in the hole. We often say that, with running backs, right? I've said this at the beginning of the program. I mean, that ability to bend properly and to jam your foot in the ground and get out, the explosive side to it, the ability to bend, be behind things. It comes back to body control. I truly wonder what his true body control is. I'm not saying it's poor in any way. I'm just saying there's a limit there. Is it truly a 5 or a 6 where you really want that guy who's going to be a 7 body control, right? Again, back to 7 being very good, 8 being excellent, 9 being rare in our scheme. This is one of those things that was a concern of mine. It will be interesting to see, where is he projected to go? Is he projected in the 3rd round? If there's a way.
Yeah, we're looking 3rd or 4th round here, which, those guys, you want eventually a running back in that part of the draft to start for you. At least in a pinch. Right. I think about Alexander Madison. I think about guys like that who are really good change of pace backs, maybe their whole career. That might be more of the style here where you have him play behind a really elite runner, and he can come in and be surprisingly good as a pinch guy. But to your point about this, it's it's maybe one of those situations where he can get, short yardage stuff with his breaking tackle ability and everything, but maybe not an explosive guy, which one of the things that Tay Seth, like one of our great data scientists found is like explosive ability is one of the key things that projects college to pro. We actually had a really good question, and I do want to finish the pod with this, is like how sticky is yards after contact per carry from college to NFL? Like there are, and you see like the really smart teams sort of, operate this way. There are like three things that map from college to pro. How good you are on what are called perfectly blocked, like how explosive you are when the play is blocked up. That's a big one. How explosive you are on explosive play rate is a huge, predictor from college to pro for running backs. The other two are big ones: yards per carry after contact and missed tackle rate. If you can, and like the Bills did like a really good job of this. They like drafted Zach Moss and Devin Singletary exactly for that. And what they missed was those guys weren't great yards after contact guys. They were good break tackle guys, but they went. So then they went after the guy who was a great explosive guy in this past draft, in James Cook. And so like that's kind of how they try to complete the running back group. But those are the three things that if you are just like, if you get a PFF subscription or hopefully one day a Sumer subscription, and you're like, I want to look at exactly what I need to look at with respect to running backs, it's how good are they at breaking tackles, how good are they at getting yards after contact, and how many explosive plays that they can generate in the run game. Those are the three things that I look at statistically in running backs.
Great. Love your dialogue and how you articulated that. In the
Awesome.
end,
Well, this was great. And I was thinking about, talking to you about this. It's like, obviously you had your time in New England, all those great running, Lawrence Maroney and like, I talked about Sammy Morris, and then you had Corey Dillon, of course. Corey Dillon, everybody thought he was washed. Right. And then he went to New England, was fantastic. You had Kevin Falk, of course, some great backs there. And then your time in Atlanta, Michael Turner, Darius Norwood, Devontae Freeman. And I even had to say this to you. I've been watching a lot of XFL. My friend, I'm giving my buddy Bruce Gradkowski a shout, the offensive coordinator for the St. Louis Battlehawks. Their running back, Brian Hill, also a draft pick by one Thomas Dimitrov, probably the best running back in that entire league. So this has been, it's been fun picking your brain about this stuff.